Starting the event. There it goes. Okay, so we're live and now we're recording. And I'm Dr. Kevin Polk, and that's Cindy Witzke there. And she's going to do a webinar on making conflict your friend with the ProSocial Matrix. And just let me know, Cindy, do you see where it says next in the lower right-hand corner of your screen?
I do.
That if you click on that, it will advance your slides.
Okay, great.
And then if you want me to bring up the whiteboard, I guess I better uncover it here. Bring up the whiteboard, let me know, and I will. Other than that, I'll go dark here, and we'll take it from there. You can take.
How do I see the responses and who's online?
In the upper right hand, you should see your there's a little window there, and it has a sprocket at the top, which is settings, and then the next one down is chat.
Yep.
Yep. So you click on chat, and Phil's in from Langhorne, and Vincent's in from Canberra. And I can say Kevin from Maine. There we go. I chatted in. And so I'm going to go off to save bandwidth. I'll be, sorry, I misplaced my mouse pad. I'll be going off, and it'll be you. I can hear you, though. And
okay, I'm just not seeing any kind of chat. And will that just come up?
Do you see to the right of your screen, and you look up and it says on air, and there's 9 people on.
Yep.
And there's a little clock, and then there's a signal, and then there is a little blue strip.
Yep, I got it.
Now click on the little chat emblem right below the sprocket, the little gear thing. You click on that. And
then it says, there we go.
That's where they are.
Okay, now I see
you. Angela from Iowa.
Iowa.
All right, so there you go. You can ask other people to say where they're from and all that good stuff. And I'm going to go off. So, as I said, saves the bandwidth. Gives you more.
Okay, great. Thank you so much. Okay, Angela from Iowa. I lived in Iowa for a couple of years, and Iowa City. Julie from Ottawa. I know Ottawa also. And Charlotte, John from Charlotte. And, of course, Kevin from Maine. Who else do we have here? Oh, hi, Kat from Ontario. And Phil. Hi, Phil. From Langhorne, Pennsylvania. And Vincent from Canberra. Wow, this is quite a group. Rodney from Fullerton. I know Rodney. Paula from Oregon. Hi, Paula. Barry and Julie. Oh, yes, I know you, Julie. Oh, Cedar Rapids. Yep, I know Cedar Rapids. Galway, Ireland. Donald, I love Galway. Hi, Phil. I'm on the opposite side, Angela, West Corner. Oh, okay. Excited to see a fellow LASW. Yeah, it's really cool to see so many of us now joining ACT. Okay, I think if we're ready, I'll get started. I kind of have a lot of material to go through, but first I'll just kind of introduce myself, and that'll give people a chance to kind of join in. I am Cindy Witzke, and I'm a psychotherapist in private practice in Charleston, South Carolina. And over the years, a lot of years, I've trained in multiple therapeutic techniques, but I have to say when I found ACT about 6 years ago or more, which is acceptance and commitment therapy, for those of you who don't know, it was a real life changer for me. I think both personally and professionally. And my clients will tell you that my favorite tool is the ACT matrix, which of course was developed by no other than my cohort here, Dr. Kevin Polk. So when Dr. Polk presented the idea of developing a group called the ProSocial Masterminds, I kind of jumped at the chance because it's just been so enormously effective for me. And I kind of want to, if I can, speak for Dr. Polk. Kevin has a vision to kind of bring the benefits of the matrix to all corners of the globe. So over the last several months, there's an international group that we've been doing trainings online with Dr. Polk, a group of professionals to become experts in the ProSocial matrix. So then we in turn can train others and kind of bring it to everyone. So now, in addition to using, I guess I've always used both matrix, but I'm expanding my practice to also include organizations and businesses, bringing in the ProSocial matrix. So the question comes up, as far as organizational view is, well, why use the matrix rather than, some of these other team building exercises? Well, team building exercises are great and you get all of this enthusiasm. But then after a while, when the everyday stuff comes up, then it kind of loses its effect. And the ProSocial matrix is really designed to be used in everyday sort of issues. And it's easy to learn and it's always available to you. Once, of course, you're trained in it. So anyways, we played around with the title of this webinar. And thank you, Dr. Polk. He helped me come up with Making Conflict Your Friend. And I really like it because I think that in kind of thinking about the matrix, I kind of look at it as much of what the matrix is about. Whether it be internal conflicts that you're needing to make friends with, or making friends with interpersonal conflicts, conflicts with other people, and then moving toward your values in a valued direction. So I'm not saying go out and create conflict, but what I am saying is that when conflict occurs, there can be growth, and so kind of making friends with it. So first, let's kind of talk about this whole issue, this word conflict, that tends to bring up some uncomfortable thoughts and emotions. For me, anyway, it kind of feels a little heavy. But conflicts are inevitable in all relationships. They're a necessary part of our lives to kind of keep us growing, keep us moving, so that we can kind of gain other people's perspectives. But we need some training in order to deal with them effectively. Oh my goodness, I realize I'm not forwarding the slides. There we go. Sorry, this is my first webinar, so I have to catch up here. So I'm going to move to the next slide. When we enter into interaction with anyone, we come with our own perspective. And this on the left here is supposed to be a mountain. With you on the one side and me on the other. And although we may be looking at the same mountain, we have different views. I can't really see it from your view and you can't see it from mine, so we're not really taking in the whole picture. So in human interactions, it's further complicated by what's happening in our inner experience that nobody can see, nobody even knows is there. And there are many things that shape the way we view the world. We all come with our own past experiences, knowledge, fears, hopes, dreams, expectations, stressors. And when I'm presenting this, I'm going to be pulling in an organizational view, but also I'm going to be using a couples situation since it's a little easier to relate to. So conflicts in general can be destructive. In the workplace, it can also lead to things like polarized groups, low morale, loss of direction, and decreased creativity and productivity. Here are some staggering facts about how costly conflicts can be in the business world. Spending 2.8 hours per week dealing with it, which amounts to about 359 billion in paid hours per year. There's a lot of research now. Everyone's really looking at workplace bullying. Employees that say that they just avoid conflict by sickness, taking leave. And of course, project failure and the large costs of turnover. So, what if we could find a way to use conflict to our advantage? I'm kind of looking at, what can we learn from conflicts? Okay, so how about we look at that word conflict a little differently? What if we think about it more as differences of opinion? I want you to think about it, how does that feel? Does it feel a little different? When you think of when the words differences of opinion versus conflict, for me, it feels a little less heavy. On the organizational level, differences of opinion can lead to all kinds of wonderful things, new ideas, critical thinking, fresh perspectives, troubleshooting, and kind of innovative solutions. We need to create a safe environment where people are willing to, step up and take that risk rather than kind of sitting back and saying, oh no, somebody's going to think I'm stupid, whatever it is, but trying to encourage those differences of opinion. But we humans tend to be rather passionate about our differences of opinion. So, how can we what can we do to help us turn this on the left side into this, some cooperation on the right side? Enter the ProSocial matrix. The matrix is designed to really kind of neutralize some of the obstacles, make friends with some of the stuff that comes up for us that keeps us from moving towards what's most important to us, those things that make our life most meaningful. So first I'm going to give a little background, a little explanation, and where I'm going with all of this. And then I'm going to ask Kevin to come on with his whiteboard and help me out here. Okay, so looking at the ProSocial matrix, I think the matrix in general is best explained through demonstration. So first I'm going to start off with kind of, some explanation of the basics. And then I'm going to take the basic matrix and do a warm-up loop. And that's something that I do in each session to just kind of get people in the room, kind of create a little safety there. And then I'm going to do a second loop with the ProSocial matrix. And what I'm going to do is bring in an example, kind of set up a scene with a couple situation. I thought it might be something where you could kind of experience it a little more. where it would be a little more experiential, something that you might be able to relate to make it easier to learn. And then lastly, I'm going to kind of expand the concepts as far as using in an organization. So while doing the exercises, I want you to notice the conflicts can occur in any human interaction, given our unique experience that we come with in our life experience, and that it's always in the room. It's kind of our view of the mountain is always in there with us, whether we want it or not. And then we're going to sort through with the matrix some of the things that might come up and see what we can learn. And then notice how we explore and experiment then on ways to keep moving and go in a meaningful direction. Okay, so explaining the matrix. When you look at the matrix, when you look at the bottom half below the horizontal line, we're looking at your inner experience. And when we're thinking about the inner experience, it's those things that other people can't see. Some of the thoughts, emotions, memories, values, those things that kind of make up your view of the mountain. On the top half, that's your outer experience. Those are things that we can see outside, experience outside using the five senses. Things that you can hear or see, their behaviors. Okay, so then on the right side, that's everything that you do moving toward what's most meaningful to you. Your shared purpose when you're in an interaction. On the left side, it's the things you do moving away from what's most important to you. And there's two different ways to look at the away move, and we'll come back to that. In the middle, that's you. You're always there. You're noticing. We need to practice coming to the present moment in order to be able to notice. Okay, so I'm going to ask Kevin. Oh, he just said, I'll be back in a minute. Okay, so I'm going to ask if people can hear me okay. And maybe if there's any questions at this point, and giving Kevin a chance to come back on because I need him to help me with the whiteboard. Okay, so everybody can hear me. No problem with sound, great. Okay, so it sounds like everybody can hear me. I'm still waiting for Kevin. Okay, great. It sounds like that's all going well. Okay, so I'm going to have him catch up to me. I don't know if there's anyone who's not familiar with the matrix, but I'm going to go through, there we go. I want to go through first the first loop, which is actually, rather than asking the question of what's our shared purpose, we start out with who's most important to you. And I don't know if Kevin, if you can add that in. Okay. I'm glad I don't have to do this. And the reason why we start out with something like this is because everyone can come up with that. It's just, to kind of get out of your head a little bit. And so kind of, you can type it in the chat box, those things. Who's most important to you? And Phil says, my family. Is there anybody else? It might be your spouse, your partner. Your dog comes up quite a bit. My kids. So trying to get in touch with, all those people that are so important to you and how that feels just being there thinking about them. Kat says, I'm important to me. That is a good one. I'm always happy when somebody says that. And friends, kids, family, dogs. Yeah. Okay, so now think about how that feels being on that side. And then let's go to the question on the lower left side. We're still on the inner experience. So what gets in the way of going toward who's most important to you? Can you come up with any ideas on what shows up for you, like thoughts, emotions, memories? There's always things that kind of come up and get in the way. There's a little bit of delay. So I know for me, sometimes, just feeling anxious, being too busy, being anxious about doing this webinar. Okay. Oh, that's a good one. Rodney, annoyance, and needing to be right. That is a real good one. And that comes up with couples quite a bit. Rebecca, feeling like there's not enough time to fit everything in. Yeah, that's an ongoing problem. And how does that make you feel? Is that where the anxiety kind of steps in? Donald, fear, confusion, distraction, anxiety. I'm going to let Kevin catch up a little bit. These are all great ones. All those things that, even though these people are so important to us, fatigue. Yeah, that's a good one. Sometimes we can't always do the things that we would do to move close to them. So I want you to think about, we're going to move now up to these away behaviors, like when you're feeling really anxious or when you're really tired, or fear. That's a huge one. When you're really afraid, what do you see yourself do in response to that? What's your kind of go-to behavior when you're going away from that fear, anxiety, and fatigue, and going away from who's most important to you? Kind of thinking about that knee-jerk reaction. When I'm really anxious, I don't listen very well. Not talk, Phil, that's a good one. Walk away from the situation. That's another good one, especially with couples. Argue, absolutely. Watch sports on TV. That's a great one. Isolate, emotional eating. Yeah, we do a lot of things just so that we don't feel it. We want to kind of put it somewhere else. Watch another documentary on Netflix. That's a good one, Kat. My son does that. Watch TV. These are all good ones. And, I want you to think about it. Okay, so initially, when you go and do those things, pout. I like that one too. When you initially do those things, do you get a little sense of relief? It's like, oh, great, I don't have to deal with this now. But I want you to notice, if you come in the middle there and really get present, does any of this, watching Netflix or pouting or emotional eating, does that really help take care, get rid of all this stuff in the long run. It kind of tends to give us some relief in the short term, but in the long term, it really takes us away from who's most important. So I want you to think about then, okay, let's shift the attention. Let's get present and shift your attention over to what if you then brought in your attention to include who's most important? And think about, well, what are some of the things that I do when I'm moving toward who's most important to me? For me, I know talking to my kids, listening, doing activities with them. I'm kind of focused on my kids on this one, but I think that's true probably of everyone, my whole family. But just really shifting my attention so that I can try and engage in that and leave the other stuff on the left-hand side. Phone, text, yeah. Okay, so I'm going to wrap this one up for time element. And I wanted to add though, when we look at this, having a nice meal together, exercise, that can be on either side. I want you to kind of look at this whole matrix though. We all experience this. It's like, welcome to the human condition. There are times when we're on either side. It's going to happen. There's always going to be stuff that comes up in that lower left. And when we're all caught up with it, sometimes it's just really hard to move toward what's most important. The big thing here is to practice. We want to practice getting in the present moment and being able to step back and notice and bring in that shared purpose into our mind's view. Okay, so Kevin, I'm going to ask you if you could erase that slide. And now I'm going to move into the couples exercise and do a couples matrix so then we can bring in the shared purpose. Okay, so hopefully you can relate at least on some level to the situation. If not, just try and imagine the scenario. Okay, so first I have to say, please forgive me. I'm going to give kind of a sexist scenario because it's pretty typical for my practice with couples. So, and it also helps to make a great example. So a couple is deciding to create a budget. They want to save money to buy a new house and to just prepare for their future. The husband, he's primary breadwinner. He's pretty frugal with worries. He worries a lot about the future, and he's got a childhood where the family really struggled with finances. Okay, so the wife, her main focus is on the running of the household, and she really wants a bigger house for their growing family. But she comes from a background where they were a pretty well-to-do family, and a lot of their focus was on having really nice things and showing them to other people. And in this situation, she tends to avoid the issue of finances. She's a bit of a spender. Okay, so let's look at we start with the shared purpose, always. I like to break this down when working on interpersonal because first, we've got, the task or the issue. that's being discussed. I don't know, Kevin, if you can kind of break this one down for me. So their first issue is creating a budget, saving money. I like to remind people of the second issue that should always be present, and that is the relationship. And when I do this, I like to do kind of a perspective exercise with them and asking them, how would you want to be treated how do you want your partner to treat you? And most times, we want respect. That kind of sums it up. Okay, so, and kind of setting the scene for this interaction, imagine that you're sitting at the dining room table, this couple sitting at the dining room table, documents all spread out, and they're looking at each other's spending. So what do you think might start coming up in that lower left-hand box for this couple? You know, some of the inner experience. Some of those things that the thoughts and emotions and memories that come up and get in the way of focusing on this budget and relationship. Anger, that's a good one, Kat. And remember, your whole life history is coming in the room here. So there's your history with your partner, there's family history, there's everything that comes in the room. So fear is a big one. And fear of what? You know, what might be some of the thoughts and things that are anxiety? That's a good one. Anxiety about, you know, fear. Phil says there is not enough. Yeah, and this guy's a worrier, so he's going to be really looking at that. And so I want you to think about, okay, so this guy, he's really worried about finances and whether or not there's going to be enough, and he's all caught up in this fear, and they're discussing the budget, and he's looking at his wife's spending, and she wants this big house in this expensive neighborhood. How might he respond? How might he move away from that fear in this interaction, in the anxiety? What might you see him do, moving up in that upper left-hand side? I kind of see him, maybe, one of the things that, yell, things like yelling, criticizing, stonewall his wife. Oh, that's a good one. Refuse to listen. That's a good one, Kat. Okay, so now I want you to think about, so he starts yelling at his wife, maybe telling her or criticizing his wife. And he starts saying things like, gosh, you just don't think about anybody. You're so selfish. Okay, so if he starts doing that, what's going to come up? What do you think might come up for her in this lower left-hand side when she's receiving all of this? What kinds of things? Sadness, yeah. She might be really sad over that he would say something like that. And I want you to think about, okay, so how might she try and get away from that sadness, hurt and disappointment, confusion? Yeah. So she's feeling all this hurt and disappointment and confusion. And what's she likely to do to kind of move away from all this stuff? Because it's really uncomfortable. Frustrated, then yell at him to try and be heard. Yes. So she may yell back. The other common thing, when you're hurt and stuff, I maybe withdraw. Yeah. Walk away, maybe cry. Oh, that's a good one. Yeah. Go quiet. Exactly. So I want you to notice what's happening here. At this point, okay, they're just going to go back and forth and back and forth. It doesn't get rid of anything. As a matter of fact, they're probably going to go in a downward spiral. And I want you to think about, have you ever found yourself in a conflict with your partner? And at some point, you find that you don't even remember what the original issue was that you were arguing about. That never happens in my house. This is how we get stuck in this stuck loop, and we just keep going round and round and round in it. And I want you to notice a few things. What do you experience when the husband yelled? What might he have experienced? Because when I'm really angry or frustrated or anxious, if I yell, I feel relief. I kind of just, it feels good right then for the short term. Because we don't want to hang on to this stuff. Okay, so let's notice something else. Where's all the focus of your attention? Kind of on that left side. Everything, all of your energy is going into this left side. And what's getting lost in all of this? I know there's a delay, and I don't want to take this too long. Yeah, what's getting lost in all of this, so if you zoom out, it's a shared purpose. This person who you love, that you want to be respectful to, and, this budget that you can't even get close to. So this is a good time to slow down, get present, zoom out, and take in the entire matrix, kind of like taking in the entire mountain. And notice bring in that whole right side. What's most important to me? What really makes my life meaningful? This is kind of hard to do, especially when you're caught up in this lower left-hand side. And then I wonder, Kevin, if you could draw me a little ladder going from the lower left side to the upper right side. So even though you're experiencing, you're going to have the doubt and the fears and the anxiety, you're talking about money. I wonder, what might this couple do, making some steps, even small steps, towards their shared purpose, kind of making some steps towards the budget and towards bringing back some more respect in the relationship. I know for me, I definitely would be wanting to hear an apology if my husband ever said that to me. And maybe opening up, being curious about what all the fears are. You know, what are her husband's fears that's creating such a reaction? Compromise. And you may need to break the problem down, especially when it comes to budget, because I know couples who just can't even get past that first stage of just kind of making a list of income versus outgoing expenses. So kind of breaking it down. But what we're always trying to do here, every time they get pulled back in to that lower left-hand side, what we're doing is sorting. So when he apologizes and she says, yeah, but I can't believe, then bringing it back and sorting that, the yeah buts, those things that get in the way again. So then you can keep on that task rather than staying all caught up on that left side. So you still may be experiencing some of this stuff, but that doesn't mean that you can't move into that upper right side. If you stay in the stuck loop, you know, it's all about workability. If we can show people, you know, if you stay in this stuck loop, if you just keep doing this kind of behavior in response to this stuff, then where are you going? And that's just suffering. But if you could experience some of this stuff and move to that other side. Let's say this couple was actually able to get so far. I kept bringing them back and sorting. So then we finally created that list, that first piece of the budget. How are they going to feel afterwards? For me, it's, you know, accomplishment. You know, if I can do that, well, then maybe we can go to the next step. The other thing I feel is hope. There's some hope that we can get through this. And it's a building tool. You know, if we can get through this part, then we can do another part. Okay, so let's see. Okay, I'm going to move to the next slide. Oops. I guess we'll have to erase. Thank you. In ACT, we call this psychological flexibility. It's all about workability. And, you know, I talked about, let's see what we can learn from all of this lower left stuff. And of course, we've erased the slide, so I won't try and bring it back. But thinking about that couple, what kinds of things do we learn about them? Things like, I mean, as a therapist, things like, well, we may need to work on some communication issues and really getting to know each other's perspectives, getting to know some of your fears, that whole intimacy piece. Maybe sharing some of the responsibilities so that they have a better understanding of their partner's perspective. Okay, I'm going to change gears a little bit here. And Kevin, if you could just take the whiteboard off. Oh, I think I did. Okay. I'm missing the top part. So I'll just tell you what that is. Okay, so As a manager or business owner, the matrix can uncover underlying issues that may be keeping your team stuck in many areas, not just what the conflict that they're dealing with. These issues can be acknowledged and then tabled for future meetings. So then, they feel heard, but keeping them in the sorting so then they still stay on the task. The matrix allows for this sorting. So it's like, okay, so I hear all this going on here, but in a perfect world, if the problem could erase all these problems, what might we do? It's kind of like an experiment in that upper right-hand side. It's like, we're just going to try something out and see how it works. So you want them to know that you address the issues, but we also want to keep them on track. Nobody likes conflict, but conflict is an essential piece of innovation. It's an essential piece of everyday life. Looking from it from an organizational view, working through conflicts can open your minds to many underlying issues and many paths to improvement. A team that works through conflicts becomes more cohesive. Just like that couple, if they can work through this, they're going to feel more together. An employee that feels heard will feel valued. Employees that feel valued work harder and will stay with the company. Providing a work environment that encourages employee input leads to increased risk-taking, creativity, and productivity. These principles apply, you can see how it would apply in the couple situation. But we all want to avoid discomfort, and conflicts are uncomfortable. So it's kind of like you just, do I have to go there? And so we need things to kind of make it a little bit easier. And that's exactly what the ProSocial Matrix does. It allows us to still stay on track, but deal with a lot of this emotional stuff that's coming up. So I've done a lot of talking, maybe too much. I'm wondering if people have questions. I guess to kind of fill in the gap while I'm waiting for questions. When bringing this into a business or organization, kind of looking at doing it. Oh, okay. Kevin put in, you can find Cindy's website by clicking the button. Oh, that's right, and I forgot to change this, did I? Oh, thanks, Julie. She said, awesome webinar. Kat said you explained it very well. The matrix is, the ProSocial matrix, it's easy to learn. It can be applied in all relationships, developed through evidence-based research, and it works. It's proven effective. And if nobody has questions, maybe I talk too much. Then I guess, thanks, Donna. Thank you so much. Okay, it looks like people don't have questions. I'm getting lots of 2 thumbs up. Thanks for all the encouragement, everybody. I appreciate it. And I hope that, if you have any questions, or if you want to know more about, how to bring this into organizations, please feel free to contact me at the information on my website, ProSocial Masterminds. Oh gosh, ProSocial Masterminds. No, wait a minute. Okay, sorry, I'm looking at this totally wrong. My website is prosocialsolutions.biz, or my email is cwinsky270@gmail.com. And thank you, everyone. It was nice having you. And thank you, Kevin.
Oh, you're welcome. Here I am. That was great.
Okay.
So everybody, the recording will be out soon. Bye-bye.